And I remember looking at that thinking that it was impossible, should be impossible for me to look at my body with this big flat spot and still be alive. What I didn't know at the time was I had 5 places that major arteries were severed when the truck fell on me. As soon as he jacked it up off of me, I'm now bleeding out. So I'm immediately getting weak. I'm begging him to get me out front of the truck. And most people have been told you don't want to move somebody with a back injury. So the creeper that I've been laying on is broken. My back is broken. I'm flat in the middle. I'm begging him to drag me out front of the truck because I was afraid the jack was going to slip again, but he was afraid. He wouldn't touch me. He was in shock. And he kept saying, I've called 911. The workers are coming. So I panicked, and I grabbed the bottom of the chrome bumper back here behind my head. And I was able to drag myself out, probably an adrenaline rush, but I was able to drag myself out from underneath the truck this far to the point that now just, this much of me from here up was sticking out from underneath the front bumper, and the rest of my body was underneath the truck, if you could picture that. So if you walked up to the truck, you see the front bumper, just my head and shoulders are sticking out. The rest of my body's underneath the truck. And it was at that point that the first responder or volunteer fire department person got there. He calls 911 when he sees the severity of the injuries and says, there's no local hospital that can do anything to help me. He's sure of it. So the next guy gets there. I'm having a hard time breathing. And it was because I didn't know it, but my diaphragm was pushed up into my lungs, and my lungs are partially collapsed. And so I'm having a hard time breathing. And each breath is getting further and further apart. And I know it, and they know it. And I'm gasping for every breath. And it's harder and harder to take that next breath. And at a certain point, I couldn't breathe anymore. And at that point, it was the strangest thing. It was instantaneous that I couldn't breathe anymore. My heart stopped and my spirit left my body, all in a flash, in a just a twinkling. My spirit left my body. People talk about out-of-body experiences or near-death experiences, NDEs. I was having a classic near-death experience, out-of-body experience. If you research it in the Bible, there are definitely instances in the Bible where spirits left the body. The Bible is clear. We have a spirit that lives inside of our flesh suit, our body. My spirit left my body. I'm up in the roof of this garage. And for anybody listening, especially with everything that's going on in the world today with COVID, and we pray for a lot of people who are afraid to die. I'm going to just say this: if you are a Christian, if you have a relationship with Jesus, you do not have to be scared of dying at all. In fact, I can tell you this: I'm 50 years old. I believe I live a blessed life, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward till the time I get to experience that again, because when my spirit left my body and I went up in the roof of the garage, I was literally having an instant party. Perfect peace. The peace that surpasses all understanding the Bible talks about. That was the overriding word that I can use. That's the overriding descriptive adjective. Just peaceful. That would be the adjective, peaceful. Noun, perfect peace, right? It was just this perfect peace. I'm in just this amazing, peaceful spot in the ceiling, watching down from above. I can see everything. I'm listening to everything, listening to the conversations, watching everything. And as I'm looking down from above, I am so disconnected from that accident scene. It felt so good, and I was so disconnected from it that I didn't even realize that the guy that was hurt underneath the truck was me. So I'm just watching from above, completely disconnected. And I can see on each, I'm listening, the guy that I've been working with, Leonard, I'm listening to every word he's saying. He's now he's above my body. He's running his fingers through my hair, and he's crying. Again, the real Bruce, the spirit Bruce, is up in the ceiling, but my expired flesh is underneath the truck. And so no heartbeat, no pulse. The volunteer department, fire department people stand back. They're not going to do CPR because I have a massive chest injury. So they can't do CPR. So I've got this massive chest injury. There's no point in doing the defibrillator, so they just stand back. This guy that I've been working with, I've known for a long time, since I was young. He's crying. He's apologizing. He's saying stuff like, I should be the one that's dead, not you. I'm sorry. Because he had jacked up the truck and not used safety equipment. And so he's crying. And I'm up here listening to it all, but I felt no sorrow, no fear, nothing negative at all. Perfect positive. Even though I'm watching this happen below me, I'm just watching it all happen. Completely disconnected from that scene below me. And I'm looking down, and it seemed very natural. This sounds probably funny to some people, but it seemed very natural. But on each side of my body, which I didn't realize was my body down there again, but on each side of that person who was hurt underneath the truck was a huge angel. The guy that I was working with is like 6'1", 6'2". He's a pretty tall guy. And he's on his knees, right directly over my head. He's on his knees, 6'1", 6'2", standing tall, man. And these angels were on their knees just like he was on the left and on the right. But their heads were like 2 feet taller than his head. So if I compare the angels to the guy, the angels had to be approximately 8 feet tall. Very broad shoulders. They had this. Leonard, the other mechanic, he's a pretty big guy. But these angels were huge compared to him. Way big, broad shoulders, very muscular. They had white, shining robes with a belt right in the middle. I'm looking from above, looking at their backs, and I can tell you that looking at their backside, they had long hair that went all the way down to where that belt was on their robe. And these two angels that I saw did not have wings. I've studied it. There are 290 some times angels are mentioned in the Bible beginning to end. Sometimes they have wings. Sometimes they don't have wings. Sometimes they look like normal people. Sometimes they don't look like normal people. Sometimes it mentions their white, shining clothing. The two angels I saw were very muscular, big men with long hair, about 8 feet tall, with bright, shining robes. They had their hands in the middle of my body where I was crushed flat. And they weren't talking. They weren't communicating. They weren't moving. They just, from each side, had their hands in that flat spot on my belly. So I'm watching from above, and I say to myself, and saying, look, those angels are down there to help that guy. That's nice. And it's just natural, normal for those angels to be there in the spirit realm, it seemed. So I'm just watching all, and the fire department people are showing up, and they keep showing up, and they keep showing up, coming in their own vehicles and stuff. There's 8 people there, and then the last 2 people to come came in the wrong door. They came in the back door. Everybody else came in the front entrance, main blacktop driveway to this garage. The last 2 people came in the back door. I saw it from above. And it's just a little detail, but just think of it. If the real Bruce if my spirit wasn't the ceiling, a year later, I spoke at that volunteer fire department. I came into this home, thank you and stuff. And I was able to go around a room of 30 people and point out 8 of the 10 people that had come to the scene of the accident a year later. I'm sure I couldn't do it now. It's been so long, but at that time I could. I went around, I picked out 8 of the 10 people who showed up to see an accident. And of those 8, I pointed to the woman, and she was easy because it was the only woman at the scene of the accident. She was a red-haired lady. And I said to her, and then there was an older guy with gray hair, and he was the only guy with gray hair. And she, the oldest, the most elderly guy, and it was the only woman. And so I said to those 2, you 2 came in the back door. Everybody else came in the front door at the scene of the accident. Why did you come in the back? It was a very simple reason. They explained why they came in the back instead of the front. And in front of those 30 people that volunteer fire department a year after the accident happened, picture this. I had no heartbeat, no pulse. Depending on which person you believe, we'll say 6 to 8 to 10 minutes. 6 to 8 to 10 minutes, no heartbeat, no pulse, nothing. I'm up in the ceiling watching. And that's the only reason why I was able to tell them, while I had no heartbeat, no pulse, which door they came in. The wrong door, because the real Bruce was in the ceiling. So she comes up the driver's side of the truck. The woman plays a very important part. She gets down between the angels. She's feeling for a pulse right here. I'm watching her. She's feeling over. She can't find the pulse. And there's a man on the passenger side of the truck with his arms crossed. I remember he had bibs on. And he said to her, he's been dead for minutes. It's too late. She ignores him. She keeps feeling. And then she said, what is his name? I'm watching from above, and Leonard, the other mechanic, says my name, Bruce Van Natta. And she begins to slap that guy in the face down there, and she starts saying, Bruce Van Natta, come back. Come back. And I'm listening to her, and she's getting louder. Now, the other 9 people in the room, at that point, when she starts slapping me in the face and saying, come back, everybody in the room stopped talking, turned, and looked at her and gave her the crazy lady look, like, what are you doing? And she just kept getting louder and louder, and just like nobody else in that room besides me and her. The angels are on each side. They've got their hand. I'm watching from above. They got their hands in the middle. She's smacking in the face saying, come back, come back. And all of a sudden my spirit started coming down out of the ceiling, closer, closer. And before I knew it, my spirit came back inside my body. And when my spirit came back inside my body, the very first thing, now I don't want to be offensive, but I'm just being real. But the very first thing that came to my mind was a 4-letter swear word that means fertilizer here in the States. And I go, oh, blank. And fertilizer, right? But not the same word. This hurts so bad. This hurts so bad. I don't want it. I felt so good up there. And now I go into this body that's crushed in half. I'm like, I absolutely do not want this. And when I made up my mind, I absolutely do not want this, my heart stopped. My spirit left my body. I went right back up to the roof of the garage. And I look down, she's there, the lady's there, the angels are still there, they're still touching the middle. But this time when I got in the roof of the garage, a tunnel opened up going out of the roof of the garage at approximately a 45-degree angle. The tunnel was very, very, very long. I can't even tell you. I mean, I know it was a very, very long tunnel. And at the end of the tunnel was a bright, bright light. And I instinctively knew that I knew it was heaven at the end of the tunnel. And all I had to do was get in the tunnel and go towards light. And I was going to heaven. And I said, yeah, it's time to go meet Jesus. I got